Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So if you saw the video that I posted 2 videos ago, you will have seen this scarf before. I made this scarf, which is a beautiful scarf. I don't know if you guys can see the sparkles in it, but it's really cool. Anyway, it's so cool that my mom told me that that's her scarf and that she is requesting a hat to go with it. So now I'm finally getting to making that hat a few days later. I've been crocheting other scarves to post on the channel, but I've been thinking about what type of hat I want to make her. She obviously has a smaller head than me, and I was thinking, okay, I usually wear Tams, aka beanies. Tams are a little bit bigger for those of you who are wondering the difference, because I have a lot of hair. She does not need that much space, so I think I'm going to make her more of a cap style hat. Gorro. Okay? And so I was thinking, I think I should do something with continuous rounds. So that takes me to why I have a stitch marker. For this tutorial, you're going to need a stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a safety pin, paper clip, yarn of a different color, just something to mark the stitch, because when you work in continuous rounds, it can be difficult or challenging to know what's the first stitch of each round. Okay, you understand when we get there. So you're going to need this. You're going to need a darning, weaving, tapestry needle to weave in the tail at the end. This yarn that I use calls for 5.5 millimeter US. I'm using a 6 because I use a 6 for the scarf. You're going to need a pair of scissors, okay, cut your yarn at the end. And then these were the 2 colors that I used before. As you can see, that's the predominant color, and then I used this one to make these designs along the edge. So yeah, I'm gonna of course use the same colors. I'll probably change the ratio though. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so I'm gonna work with the lighter yarn, okay, and I'm going to make a magic circle. This is good because I know there are some of you beginners out there who are intimidated by the magic circle. It's nothing to be intimidated by. So let me show you what to do. Take your hand, pull this over like that, okay? You can use 2 fingers, you can use 3. I'm going to use 3. Bring the yarn from the back like this and kind of cross it over like an X, okay? Then move your thumb up to there to hold it. And now rotate your hand so that you're looking at the top. You can take your crochet hook. For me, that's a size J, 6 millimeter US. You're going to go up under that first one and over the second one, and you're going to hook it on, and then you're going to pull it through to the front. Okay? Now you're going to use these 2 fingers to grab that loop right there. You're going to slide these out, okay? And then you're going to hurry up and chain 1 to secure the yarn. So yarn over, take your finger out, and chain 1. Alright, we made it. It's secure. Alright, so now that we've done that, you can pull on the tail to kind of close the circle a little bit. And we're going to put 10 single crochets into this circle. Okay? So we're going to enter that circle there to make our single crochets. So enter, yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, 1, 2, yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. That's 1. 9 more. Repeat. That's 2. Back in there. Okay? That's 3. Now you're going to notice that as you crochet these single crochets, this tail, and it's kind of long, so it's really in no danger of slipping out. But say I didn't create a long tail when I made my magic circle, then it could slip out. So something that you can do is just kind of pull on it as you go along to kind of close it up and get more tail on the outside of the circle. Okay? Alright, so 1, 2, 3. So I have 7 more to make because I need a total of 10. 4, 5, halfway, 6, 7. Notice I'm crocheting over the tail and this part of the circle. In there. I think that's 8. Let me count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, okay. 9 and 10. Alright, now are you ready to see the magic? That tail that I was talking about, just pull on it like that. And you're going to see the circle get smaller. Okay? And that's why it's called a magic circle. Alright, put the tail to the back. Alright, so now that brought us around. There's a chain 1 that right there that we made to secure at the very beginning, but we're gonna bypass that, and here's the first single crochet that we made. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna put 2 single crochet. Okay, so before I do that, let me just say that I just finished round 1. Round 1 has how many single crochet? That's right, it has 10 single crochet. Okay, so now that I'm moving on to round 2, not row, right? Round, because we're working in a circle. Round 2, and I'm going to put 2 stitches in every stitch around. Then that means I'm going to double the number of stitches in round 1. So round 2, when I complete it, should have 20 stitches. Alright? So, alright, slice the icing off the top of the cake of the first single crochet stitch. Yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, 1, 2, like normal. Yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. And now we're going to take our stitch marker and we're going to mark the stitch. You can put it in the top loop, but I kind of like to put it in the body of the single crochet just to make it more obvious. So now we know that once we get back to that stitch, that single crochet right there, that's beginning a new round. Okay? But I said that in round 2, every stitch gets 2 stitches, so that means I have to go back in there. Okay? So I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the cake again. Now yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. Alright? Next stitch. Finally I get to move on to the next stitch, which is there. Slice the icing off the top of the cake. Yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. Go back in there for a second one. Slice the icing off the top of the cake, yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. Notice that I'm not yarning over before I enter the stitch. These are single crochet, and so you just enter the stitch. Alright? So continue putting 2 single crochet into every single crochet round for a total of 20 stitches or single crochet for round 2, and I will meet you once I get around. See you there. So I've made it back around. I counted, I have 20 stitches, and I see, because of the stitch marker, that I'm back to the beginning. So that means that the next stitch I put in there, that will be the start of round 3. Okay? And you can start to see now why, 1, this is called continuous rounds, but 2, why we need a stitch marker to easily locate the beginning of each round, because it's not really easy to see. Okay, so the pattern, I didn't talk about patterns, I just told you to put 2 stitches in every stitch, but the pattern, if you think about it, for round 2 was 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and so on, right? Now that we're moving on to round 3, the pattern will be 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so let me show you what that means. So here's the single crochet. That's the first single crochet because it has a stitch marker, and there's the top of it right there. Let me get this out. That's the top of that single crochet. Okay, so here's the body, there's the top. Okay, we're going to put 2 single crochet into that. So 1, and I'm going to stop right now and relocate my stitch marker, because remember that marks the first stitch of round 3. Okay, so that's the first stitch of round 3, and that's the 1, but remember the pattern is 2, 1, so that means that that same first stitch has to get another single crochet. So that's the 2, And now I move on to the next stitch, and that's going to get the 1. So it only gets 1 single crochet, and then I repeat. Next stitch is 2 single crochet, 1, back in there for 2. Next stitch only gets 1. Okay. Next stitch gets 2. So 1, back in there for 2. Next stitch gets 1. Okay. So the pattern for round 3 is 2, 1. Keep repeating that and I will meet you there. Alright, so I'm back around. Okay, I've just completed round 3 and I ended on the 1. Okay, remember the pattern for round 3 was 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and so on. So my last stitch got the 1. Okay, and now moving on to round 4, you see I'm back at the beginning because there's that stitch marker which tells me that this next stitch that I'm going to crochet into will be the first stitch of round 4. So the pattern for round 4, as you probably have guessed, is going to be 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so in this first single crochet of round 4, I'm going to put 2 single crochet. But before I make that second one, I'm going to stop and relocate the stitch marker. I'm going to put it into the body of the single crochet that I just made, just so I always know where the beginning of the round is. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in there to put my second single crochet. Okay, so that's my 2. What I said the pattern is 2, 1, 1, so that means the next stitch will get 1. Okay, and the one thereafter will also only get 1, so next stitch 1. Okay, let's repeat the pattern now. So next stitch is 2, 1, back in there for 2. Next stitch is 1. Next stitch is 1. Next stitch is 2. Back in there for 2. Next stitch is 1. Next stitch is 1. Notice how I'm kind of pulling the stitches apart a little bit just to make sure I don't skip any stitches. Okay, so let's repeat it one more time before I let you fly off on your own. Next stitch will get 2. Back in there for 2. Next stitch will get 1. Next stitch will also get 1. Okay, so continue using that pattern 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, and I'll meet you back at the beginning as it's evidenced by that stitch marker. See you there. So now I'm preparing to start round 5. You see I'm back at the beginning. There's that stitch marker on the very first single crochet of round 4. And the pattern for round 5 will be 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so if you need to continue making your diameter bigger, say you're making it for someone with a bigger head than my mom, then you now know how to just continue adding 1 onto that pattern. Okay, notice for round 4 I didn't talk about the number of stitches you should have, right? When you get to the pattern where it's 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, I feel it more important for beginners especially to focus on just the pattern. Okay, if you focus on the pattern and you're doing it correctly, then you will have the appropriate number of stitches for the round. But just out of curiosity, say you did round 1, that was 10 stitches. You did round 2, which just put 2 stitches in every stitch, that gave you 20. When you got to the next pattern for round 3, where the pattern is 2, 1, 2, 1, that means that half of the stitches of round 2, so half of the 20 total stitches for round 2, which is 10, were doubled, right? Okay, so that would mean that round 3 would have 30 stitches because you've added an extra stitch 10 times. It's easy to figure out, but it's even easier for you to just focus on the pattern. Make sure you're, doing 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, or whatever the pattern is for the round that you're on, and you'll get the appropriate number of stitches. I just want to mention that. Okay, so now I said I just finished round 4, which is 2, 1, 1. So now starting round 5, it's going to be 2, 1 1 1. So I'm slicing the icing off the top of the cake of the first stitch to put my single crochet. I'm going to stop right now and relocate my stitch marker so that it goes into the now first stitch, okay, and that's of course of round 5. Now I'm going to go back in there and put that second single crochet because that first stitch always gets 2 stitches right now while we're increasing. And now I have 3 ones to make. I did the 2, so notice how I'm pulling it apart to make sure I see clearly what the next stitch is. The next stitch is there, okay? When it's kind of bunched together, it could look like that's the next stitch next to it, but when I spread it out, I see, okay, those 2 single crochet are in that one, so that's clearly the next stitch. So this will be my first one. Next stitch is 2. Next stitch is 3. And then the pattern starts over. Next stitch, 2. Back in there for 2. Next stitch 1. Next stitch 1. Next stitch 1. And so on and so forth. Continue in that pattern and I will see you once you get around there. Alright you guys, I have made it back around. You see that there's a stitch marker, so I'm definitely back around. So at this point I'm going to continue making rounds and using the pattern. Okay, I've shown you how to build the pattern for each new round. Okay, so this round I ended with 2 1 1 1, so 3 ones after the 2. So the next one will be 2 and then 4 ones. The next one will be 2 and then 5 ones, and so on and so forth. I'm going to continue with my increase rounds until I get to a diameter that is big enough to fit the crown of the head of my mom. And then at that point I'm going to start maintaining the number of stitches. How many ever stitches I have, I'm not even going to count them. Once I see my circle, the diameter is big enough, then I'm going to cease with the increase rounds, so no more patterns, and I'm just going to put 1 stitch in every stitch around. But I'm going to check back in before I do that so I can tell you what the last pattern was that I ended on before I started my maintenance rounds, if you will. Okay, so just continue using the pattern and adding another 1, okay, for each successive round until you get to a diameter that is big enough for the crown of the head of the person that you're making it for. Alright, I will check back in shortly. So I have one more iteration of the pattern to make for this round, and I am on the round where the pattern is 2 and then 6 ones. Okay, you see my circle, it's gotten a little bit bigger. Alright, one way to know when you're making this pattern, when you're going to have to put 2 stitches in the stitch, assuming you've done everything correctly, is it's always the first single crochet of the 2 that are in the same stitch below. For instance, this stitch right here has those 2 single crochet. It has that one and then that one. Okay, so both of those single crochet are in the stitch below. That means that this stitch right here is going to get 2 because it's the first one of that grouping. Okay, so that's just something else it's another way that you can realize, when you should increase and put that extra single crochet in there. So let's do that. 1 and then back in there for 2. Something else that I want to show you is that after you put 2 stitches in 1 stitch, the 2 single crochet, that's when it's easiest for you to skip a stitch accidentally. Why? Because 2 single crochets are occupying the space where 1 normally goes. So that second one right there, it's kind of spilling over, right? It's kind of going over, so it's covering the very next stitch. So it's easy to miss it. Okay, so like that, it looks like that right here could be the next stitch, but it's actually not. That's why I said it helps to stretch your work a little bit, pull back, and then you see, oh, there's a stitch there. Okay, so if it doesn't work out and you don't end your pattern on the appropriate number of ones that you should after making that 2, then that means you must have skipped a stitch somewhere. Okay, anyway, let's continue on. So spread, and then I have 6 ones to make. So 1, 2, 3, and with all these ones I just start to count up. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and now I'm back. So I didn't skip any stitches. It works out. Okay, for me, I should say for my mom, for her head, this is gonna be wide enough. Okay, so this is a little bit more than 5 inches, so it's a little bit more than 13 centimeters in diameter. Okay, so I've made a hat or a cap similar to this for myself, and I did 8 iterations of that pattern. So I did 2 and then 8 ones, and that fit my head. So just to give you a ballpark place to start, but really it just depends on, every person's head. You should be able to, and if not initially, at some point, at least I can picture a person's head, look at the circle. Like, I wouldn't have grabbed this tape measure if it wasn't for you guys, but like I knew without measuring it that, okay, this is big enough for my mom. Okay, so yeah, goals, I guess. All right, so something else I wanted to mention is that I think I'm going to, well, one, I don't really have a plan for this cap yet. And that's how I like to crochet. That's how I prefer to crochet. I prefer to just see, my creative juices rise, to the surface as I'm making something. And so that just happened, and I realized that I want to bring in this darker color now to do my first round of non-increase, my first maintain round. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I think I'm going to go back to this lighter color, and yeah, we'll just play it by ear from there. But I just want to inspire creativity because it's a cool thing, and I think we really create beautiful, unique things when we do just kind of go along and see what comes to mind. This channel is for beginners, right? And so there's a certain foundation that you guys need, but I don't like to get bogged down with, this, what do you call it? I can't even think of the name of it. Do this swatch and it should be this by this, and make sure you have exactly that many stitches, and to do that use this, and I understand that those things are important, but I'm just trying to get people who never thought that they could crochet to the point where they're actually willing to try to crochet, so I'm not trying to have you guys make these most elaborate patterns, although obviously we make some beautiful things. But I think non-beginners who also watch this channel, they look for those things, and they're always asking me the measurements and the width and the length, especially of the scarves. It doesn't matter, right? It could be completely different. It doesn't matter what my measurements are, because chances are I want a different width and length than you want, or than the person who you're making it for wants, so don't get so bogged down in the details, and don't be so legalistic about it that you take all the fun away from crocheting. So just remember, you guys, this channel is, it's for everyone, anyone, and everyone is welcome to watch my videos and, make stuff. I encourage you to, and I'm happy to have you. But this channel is for beginners, so you're not going to find a lot of the technical stuff that you might find on other channels. And there are 1,000,001 crochet channels on YouTube, so I'm sure you can find what you're looking for elsewhere if I'm not doing it for you. Okay, sorry if that sounded mean. I don't mean to be mean. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay, all right, moving on. So now I'm going to switch colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my other yarn, I'm going to hook it on, okay, and just pull it through. If you turn this around, you'll see you can pull on the one that you were working with, okay, to make that hole small, and then just kind of tighten that. And now we'll proceed in the new color. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that first single crochet and a stitch with the stitch marker. Okay. And you guys know I hate weaving in tails at the end, so I like to do it as I go. So I'm going to crochet over the new tail. Okay. I'm going to leave the light yarn attached because I'm going to go right back to it after this row. But I am going to crochet over the tail from the darker color. Okay. So let me get myself together. My loops, they're trying to grow on me. Okay. And now that one's trying to hide. Okay. I got my tail on top. I got the light color to the back. And now I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the cake of the first stitch. Like that. Yarn over, pull through to the front. 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. Okay? And now you can relocate the stitch marker. You don't really have to for this round because you know that the first stitch is in a different color, but just for consistency's sake, it's a good idea to do it. Okay, put that on. Alright, and now I'm just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're done with the patterns. Okay, no more 2, 1, 1, 1, all that. Alright, so make sure you get the next stitch, which is there. Put the tail on top and proceed to making your single crochets. Like that, crocheting over. Okay, so continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch around, and I will meet you there. See you soon. I really wish you guys could see the sparkles in this yarn. It's not showing up too well on camera, I don't think, but yeah, it's really beautiful. Alright, so I'm back around, and I'm going to switch back to the lighter color as I said. So what I want you to do is to grab your light yarn, hook it onto the crochet hook, and pull it through. Now pull on the dark yarn to make that loop disappear. We're going to cut the dark yarn and put it to the side because we're going to use it later. Turn this over to the back. Get the loop of the light yarn that's on your crochet hook right now to the size that you want it. And now we're going to tie a couple of knots between the white, or not white, light, and the dark yarn. Okay, 1 and 2. So now we're going to continue doing what we just did, making 1 single crochet in every stitch around because we're only maintaining. Yes, I'm going to crochet over that tail because you guys know I don't like having to weave in at the end. It's very annoying. So yeah. Alright, so here's the first stitch of the previous round, as is evidenced by the stitch marker, right? So I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the cake. Yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. 1, 2. Of course, once again, because I just changed colors, I automatically know that that's the first stitch of this current round. But for consistency's sake, I'm going to relocate the stitch marker. Okay? And now I'm just going to go putting 1 single crochet in every single crochet around. Oh, I forgot to crochet over that, so let me take that out. Pull that tail with you. Okay, now go in there. Alright, now we're good. So just pay attention to what you're doing, and if you do something wrong, take it out and redo it, because that mistake is going to haunt you every time you look at your work. So it's better to just do it over and get it done right. Okay, so eventually, once you do how many ever rounds of non-increase or maintenance rounds, then your hat is going to start to curve. Okay, right now it's still kind of flaring, as is evidenced by the waves, because of those increases at those different points along, but eventually it's going to start curving down. Okay, and depending on the size of the head of the person that you're making it for, that's going to determine how many non-increase or maintenance rounds you make. Okay, so I'm going to crochet on this for a while, and then I'll check back in. See you soon. Alright, full disclosure, I lost some footage, so I'm trying to recreate it. Alright, so as you can see, I've crocheted several more rounds, non-increase rounds or maintenance rounds, right? Remember, this dark round right there was the first round of non-increase, and I've crocheted several more. Okay, in an attempt to recreate it, I undid the knot, and we're gonna do it together. All right, so I'm here. That's the first stitch beginning of the previous round. I'm going to, instead of making a single crochet, I'm going to slip stitch into the stitch. So I'll slice the icing off the top of the cake, yarn over, pull all the way through. Now I'm going to grab the dark color yarn. I'm going to make a loop like that, and I'm going to hook it on my crochet hook like that. Now I'm going to pull on the light color yarn so that that loop disappears. And I'm going to tug on that, and I'm going to tie a couple of knots between the tail of the dark color yarn and the light color yarn, which, by the way, I'm not going to cut because we're going to go back to it. So 1, and then 2. Alright, so I'm still in that first stitch, right? I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So at this point we're trying to transition to more of the style, the pattern that was used in the scarf. So we're going to make a double crochet in that same stitch where we slip stitch. So yarn over, slice the icing off the top of the cake, yarn over, pull through to the front. That will leave us with 3 loops. 1, 2, 3, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Alright, so that's what we have. Now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2, and we're going to skip 2. So this is the next one. This is the next available. Skip 1, skip 2, and in this third one away, that's where we're going to put our, if you made the scarf, you'll remember our double crochet 3 together, or it's also known as the cluster stitch. So yarn over, enter the stitch, slicing the icing off the top of the cake. Yarn over, pull through to the front. It's going to leave us with 3 loops. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, go through 2. 1, 2. Now, yarn over, re-enter that same stitch for the second time. Yarn over, pull through to the front. It's going to leave us with 4 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over and only go through the first 2. 1, 2. Alright, yarn over, re-enter the stitch for the third and final time. Yarn over, pull through to the front. That's going to leave us with 5 loops, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over, only go through the first 2. 1, 2. That's going to leave us with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over and go through all 4 loops like that. Okay, and we've created our cluster stitch, also known as our double crochet 3 together. Chain 2. 1, 2. Skip the next 2. So this one, that cluster is in there, so that's not the next one, that's the same one, right? So this is the next one. Skip 1, skip 2, and then this third one away, that's where we're going to put our next cluster. So yarn over, enter, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, re-enter the stitch, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, only go through the first 2. Yarn over, re-enter for the third time, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, only go through the first 2. That'll leave us with 4 loops. Yarn over, go through everything. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, skip 1, skip 2, and in this next one, that third one away, that's where we put our cluster. Yarn over, enter the stitch, slice the icing off the top of the cake. Yarn over, pull through to the front. Yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, enter the stitch for the second time. Yarn over, pull through to the front. Yarn over, only go through the first 2. Yarn over, enter the stitch for the third and final time. Yarn over, pull through to the front. Yarn over, go through the first 2. That'll leave us with 4 loops. Yarn over, go through everything. Okay? Continue making this double crochet 3 together or cluster stitch on around, chaining 2 in between the clusters and skipping 2 stitches in between the clusters. And I'll meet you once we start to get close to the end of this round. See you there. Alright, so I'm almost completely back around. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to skip 2, 1, 2, and then in this third one away, I'm going to put a cluster, 1, back in there, for 2, back in there, for 3. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops. Alright? I've kept, by the way, the yarn just to the back and out of the way while I've been crocheting around. Isn't that amazing? I love just the sparkle of it. My mom's gonna love this. Alright, so I'm back around, so I'm gonna chain 2, 1, 2, And then I'm just going to bypass that chain 3 and slip stitch into the top of the double crochet that I made there, like that. Okay. Now I am going to cut my yarn, and I'm going to chain 1 just to tie a knot, basically, like that, and fasten off. Put that on the inside. Actually, I'm going to lay it on top because I'm going to crochet over it. I don't know if you guys saw that. I just chained 1, cut my yarn, chained 1, and fastened off. Okay. I am going to cut this down, but I'm going to crochet over this. So now it's time to start working with the light yarn again. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to just slice the icing off the top of the double crochet. So basically where I went in to slip stitch, I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to lay the tail on top. And this, remember, the light color yarn is still attached. So I'm just going to yarn over and pull it through to the front like that. Alright, and chain 1 just to kind of get it in there. Now in there, I'm going to go back in there, yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. And that's going to be my first single crochet of that round. In these chain 2 spaces, normally I would put 2 single crochets, right? 1 single crochet for each chain. But I want to have this opening close up just a little bit more, so I'm going to skip a stitch. Basically, I'm going to decrease. Okay, I'm pretty sure this opening would fit my mom's head well, you know, just right, but I think it'll be nicer if it's a little bit more snug. Okay, so instead of putting 2 single crochets in there, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in that chain 2 space, but I'm still going to crochet over this tail there. Okay, so just slide on top, enter the space, yarn over, pull through to the front, 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2. And now for these clusters, just find the top. So slice the icing. Okay, lay the tail on top, yarn over, and make a single crochet. Remember, even though you see 3 bodies, it's only 1 stitch. Is this evidenced by the 1 top. Now we're back to the chain 2 space, enter, and make a single crochet. By the way, an easy way to find where the top is or where to insert your hook is to pull. You can pull that way and see that little gap there, that little opening right there. That's where we'll insert a hook to slice the icing off the top of the cake. See the top of the stitch there? Alright, lay the last remaining part of the tail on top and make your single crochet. Alright, here's the next chain 2 space where we're only going to put 1 single crochet. Pull, oh, that gap right there at the beginning, that's where I put my single crochet. Chain 2 space, single crochet. Gap right in the top right corner, single crochet. Chain 2 space, single crochet. Gap, top right corner, single crochet. And so on and so forth. Okay, so continue doing that, and I'll meet you once you get back around there. Alright, I'm almost back around. I just have this chain 2 space there to put 1 single crochet. Okay, and now I'm back at that beginning, that first single crochet, where I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the stitch, off the top of the cake, and make a single crochet. Now I'm going to finally relocate that stitch marker because now I'm returning back to the continuous rounds. Okay, whenever I chained 3 and then chained 1, I wasn't really working continuous, but now I'm back to continuous. I didn't chain at all, right? I just worked into the next stitch. And now I'm just going to continue around with single crochets until I feel like I have it long enough. The hat, that is. You know, so that it comes down over the head, far enough down over the head, I should say. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to continue for a little bit. And how long or how many rounds more you do, it's all going to depend on the head of the person that you're making it for. But now I'm happy, I'm satisfied because I've incorporated this pattern, which is in the scarf, into the hat. And so now they match. I mean, they matched color-wise, but like they match on all levels now. So yeah, I'll work on this some more and then we'll wrap this up. So I've made it back around to the stitch marker. So I'm going to put a single crochet in it, relocate my stitch marker into the new first stitch of the current round, and I'm going to do, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, one of those more rounds. I'm just going to feel it out and see how deep I want this to be. But oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. My mother is going to love this. Also, I didn't mention it before, but do you see how the hole has closed up a little bit more now? Since I didn't put 2 single crochets in the chain 2 spaces, I only put 1. That was a little trick to decrease on the sly, if you will. Alright, let me finish how many ever more rounds I'm going to do. Did I say rows before? I might have. Let me finish up how many ever more rounds and I will check back in. Okay, so full disclosure again, I could be done. I could be done with this cap, with this gorro. It's wonderful, but my imagination is going crazy and is making me want to do more and more things to really embellish this. So I am going to oblige. So you guys, I mean, you can also be done, you know. It's all about personal preference, and that's why I don't like to be so rigid and legalistic with my crochet tutorials. I want to encourage you guys to be creative, to think for yourselves, to think outside the box, to, you know, figure out different ways to make whatever it is you're making appropriate for the person that you're making it for. Yeah. So, alright, I am going to slip stitch into the very first stitch of the previous round, like that. The chain 1, cut my yarn, fasten off. Okay, this will serve as my tail, and I'm just going to go through a couple of stitches. If you happen to have a smaller crochet hook around, this part would be easier. Just because the stitches, you know, will be bigger than a smaller crochet hook than the one you use. So, if I can get in there, yeah, like that. So just get in there, bring that in, and chain 1, and then that will tend that tail inward. Okay. You don't need the stitch marker anymore, so we can take that off. We're done with that. Thank you for your services. All right, and now what I want to do is I want to put something, because I know my mom, and I know she would appreciate having something to grip when she's putting this on. So I am going to, I think the stitch that's perfect for that is the reverse single crochet. So that's what I'm going to add now. Okay. So can you guys see? Let me do that again. So I'm going to go in there, just close to where the tail is. Okay. You don't, once again, have to be legalistic. Hook your yarn on, pull through like that, and immediately chain 1 to secure it. It's not super secure, but it's secure. Alright, pull like that, and then let's tie a couple of knots, which will completely secure it. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 again. Alright, and for those of you who have never done the reverse single crochet, it's not hard. There are a lot of people that are afraid of it, experienced crocheters as well as newbies. But Atreyu Crochet is telling you, don't be afraid, don't be scared. You can do it. Alright, so basically you're making a single crochet, so that means you don't yarn over before you enter the stitch, right? That is the same, that's true. What you do is, instead of going to the left like that to go into the next stitch, you go back to the previous stitch. So instead of going forward, I want to go back. This is where I slip stitched. This is the actual single crochet that I'm going to go into. It's a clearly defined top of the stitch, right? So let's just go in there. So instead of going forward, I go backward into the single crochet, slicing the icing off the top of the cake. Now I just yarn over and pull it to the front. I have 2 loops. They're kind of bunched together, but there are 2 there if I separate them. See, 1, 2. And now I yarn over and go through 2. That's all it is, you guys. Let me do it again. So here's the next top. So I just kind of rotate my hook to the back to slice the icing off the top of the cake of the stitch to my right, the yarn is already there, so I just hook it on and pull it through, pulling it to the front. I have 2 loops which are bunched together so they look like one, but it's 1, 2, and I yarn over like I would if I was making a single crochet going toward the left, and I pull through both loops. Okay, so by going backwards you basically create this twisted effect. Okay, now I'm going to take these out because I want to crochet over that tail, of course, because it's one less tail that I have to weave in. So I'm just going to grab the tail, put it to my right, to the right, and I'm going to lay it on top and I'm going to crochet over it. So you get to see me do this again. So put it to the back, go into the stitch, slicing the icing, make sure the tail is on top, grab the yarn over, pull through to the front, keep the tail down. Now I yarn over and go through 2, making sure that tail is up under there, so I'm crocheting over it. Okay, and I just keep doing that. Okay, here's another one. Slice the icing, keep the tail down, yarn over, pull through to the front, yarn over, go through a grouped or bunched 2. And I'm going to do this all the way around the opening of the hat. Okay, and you're going to see it's going to create this cool border, that cool edge. Okay, so as you see, the reverse single crochet is nothing to be intimidated by, nothing to be afraid of. You can do this. Atreyu Crochet says so. I'll meet you once I get back there. Alright, I have what, 1, 2, 3 more, so I thought I'd pop back on just to reinforce the technique. So go back, grab the yarn, pull it to the front. Go to the back, grab the yarn, pull it to the front. Go to the back, slice the icing, grab the yarn, pull it to the front. Okay, now this part is always kind of awkward because it's like, well, what do I do now? I don't have any more single crochets. Well, just go into that reverse single crochet there, yarn over, pull it to the front, yarn over, go through 2. Alright, and then chain 1. Cut your yarn and fasten off. And then you can grab your darning weaving tapestry needle and just weave it through some of those reverse single crochets in one direction. You don't need to go super far, just make sure you're going through the appropriate color so it doesn't show through. And then take it back in the other direction through a slightly different path, just so you actually create a knot. Okay? And pull through. Alright, and there's some tails here, so you can even tie a couple of knots if you want. Just don't pull it like that, because that's going to distort your hat, right? Bring them together, allow the hat to lay flat, and then tie a couple of knots. Another trick. I'm just teaching you guys so many tricks today. Just kidding. That's my job. Alright, and then you can cut those tails down. I'm not cutting the light tail because that's my tag, but those I will cut down. Now, remember this, the magic circle at the very beginning. If that is too big of an opening for you, well, you still got the tail here, you guys. And remember, the magic part of the magic circle is the fact that you can pull on the tail and that circle can close. So just pull like that. Now let's look at it. You see it closed up. Okay. Now, to keep it that way, we will go through some stitches, just kind of locking it in place. So pull it tight again, make sure there's no opening, and then across from it, you'll go through a few single crochets, 1 or 2, like that, and then pull. And then if you lose it, just re-yarn it, as I like to say, rethread it, re-yarn it, and go across from there. So it's over there, so I'm going to go across over there, go through a couple of stitches, and pull through. Okay, and you can do that how many ever times you want until you feel like it's secure. And now it's on this side, so I'm going to go across there through a couple of stitches and pull through. Okay, now I'm done. it's not gonna open up. So I'm just gonna go across, so it's there. I'm gonna go across from there, pull through, pull like that, bringing that all the way up like that. And before I pull all the way through, I'm gonna wrap this around and just go through the opening like that. So see, like that. And now pull up, and I've created a knot. So that's definitely not going anywhere, and I'll cut that down. This is my tag tail. You can cut it down some more if you don't want it that long. But yeah, guys, that is the hat. This is my mom's cap, my mom's hat to go with her scarf, and she is going to love this because I know my mommy. Alright, so let me zoom out a little bit, and let me go grab the scarf so you can see them together. I'll be right back. So this is the set, you guys. This is the scarf that I made in the other video. Here's the hat to match it using the same yarns. So yeah, I think my mother is going to love this. It really is a beautiful set. And this is going to be very warm. One good thing about single crochet is that they're tight, they're close, so it will not allow much air in or heat to escape. So yeah, I think she's going to love it. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video, but you know I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, happy crocheting!